Welcome to Spirited Straight Talk, the podcast to help you thrive with the help of spirit. I'm Deb Shepard, psychic medium, spiritual teacher, and author. Each week, I bring new insights to help you heal from loss, connect with spirit, and turn setbacks into triumphs. So let's get started. Hey, everybody, we have something really special for today. We have Master Numerologist Glynis McCants on the podcast. And she is just fantastic. A little bit about her. She's been studying numerology for over 27 years. She's considered a master numerologist, but she does use a unique method, which I can't wait to find out more about. It's called the Pythagoras number system, more than 2,500 years old. And one really cool thing is she did approximately 15,000 readings and then wrote her best-selling book, which is called Glynis Has Your Number. And my understanding is it is a go-to book for people eager to learn about numerology. She successfully picked her own husband by the numbers and was inspired to write her second book, Love by the Numbers. She's done over 42,000 numerology readings, and she's internationally known. And her mission is to simplify what numerology is all about and show everyone how they can use numbers to help them navigate their life. I also know she's been on many different shows, the Daily Mail TV show, and she talks about celebrity couples, which maybe we'll dig into a little bit too on this podcast. She's also been on Dr. Phil, the Today Show, Nightline, CBS's The Talk, the Dr. Oz Show, The View, Entertainment Tonight. She's done so many things, and really, we are just so honored to have her with us here today. So let's welcome her now. I am so excited, Glynis, that you were willing to join our Spirited Straight Talk podcast today. I have talked about numerology over the years, but I am not the guru like you. And reading and understanding your background is just absolutely starstruck with all that you've done. But first of all, would you share with this audience, what is numerology and why do you use it?
Why does it matter?
Yeah, why does it matter?
Absolutely. And by the way, great to be here. I will tell you that numerology itself is a science of numbers. It's 2,500 years old. It is the Pythagorean number system that I use. The belief is that everything in the universe has vibration. And it's especially true with people. You know, when we deal with each other, you know, people who know nothing about numerology will often say, "Oh, that guy just gave me a bad vibe." You can feel it. That is vibration. And numbers, the Pythagoras belief was that when we were born, we came through with a certain sound. You know, each one of us has vibration. And there are people that are compatible to you, and there are people who are challenged to you. And what happens is when you have energy that's a challenge, it's a breakdown in communication, that no matter what you say, you are misinterpreted. It's as if you're speaking a different language. So what I did was write books on the subject, Glynis Has Your Number, Love by the Numbers, to help you learn this language, this new way of talking. So if someone is toxic, you can talk the way they do so they hear you. It's awesome.
Wow, that's interesting. So tell us a little bit about Pythagoras. What exactly does that mean?
Yeah, Pythagoras, you know, he was a famous mathematician. Geometry was the deal, the Pythagorean theorem. So many people are afraid of geometry. Like, you know, it's a hard one, right? When we do mathematics.
Absolutely.
But that's what he did. And he was worshiped and glorified by all thought leaders in his time. Like, they knew this man was brilliant. But what I found fascinating, it was actually his followers that documented what he said. He did not write books on this subject at all. He just was this healer, and he knew about vibration, and he interpreted. Keeping it simple, the basic numbers in numerology are 1 through 9. What that means is 1 in numerology is considered the beginning. The number 9 is the number of completion. And we all have a life path number. So that's what he was doing. The other thing he's known for, he was considered the father of harmonics, because when you listen to music, it's just like if you're in your car and you turn on the radio and you hear a sound, you're like, "Ooh, I can't stand it." I promise you, those numbers behind that music are toxic to you.
Wow.
That's how it works. It's energy. And I did this little thing for myself where I wanted to know, like my favorite musicians growing up, the voices that knocked me out every time I ran the numbers, they were considered compatible to me or a natural match, which made perfect sense that their sound resonated with mine.
I just love that. I mean, we
That
think
is so
about how
interesting,
people
yeah.
are drawn to certain types of energy, music, things like that, colors. And for you to be able to unlock that mystery is really, it's science for sure.
Yes, it is. And it's interesting. What happens is when you learn as you study, I mean, look, I've done this my whole life, but if you study numerology and you start to see vibration, even if someone comes at you in a negative way, you can make a note, say, oh, she's being a 5. Oh, she's having a toxic day. Like your brain will not automatically go to defense. You will not defend yourself if you know it doesn't matter.
Wow.
You see,
Okay.
it saves your life in that way. It's like, no, I'm not gonna fight this person because they're not gonna understand what I'm saying. I will regroup. Maybe I'll write them a letter later or call them at a different time, but I'm not gonna fall into the pain. When I do reads and I read like a couple that have really a hard relationship that's not going well, they will say, it's so validating that you get who I am, which means I'm not a bad person. You see, a partner can make you feel bad about yourself because of your personality. But if it's really in the numbers, then there's a whole new way of understanding you, that they're not doing it to be hurtful. They're doing it because that's who they are. That is where they come from in vibration.
Glynis, it feels like I'm going to an allergist to see who I'm allergic to, right?
Right?
I think I'm allergic to this music and this individual. So tell me, do I need my shot? I
will say this, some of us are more sensitive than others.
Correct.
Deb, when I look at your chart and my own, the number 2, it's the one who feels too much. Like you pick up people's energy and you got to be so careful. I always tell people, white light yourself, light a white candle and just protect yourself, protect your body so that when you deal with others, it doesn't get inside you. And for me, and I'm sure for you, when you read so many energies, you have to be able to let it go. You can't keep it with you. So that's another thing, is understanding what vibration is like water in the desert. Which one makes you feel replenished? And if it's someone in their family who is toxic to you, get ready and don't take it personally.
Have that shot of whiskey before you walk in the door.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was born in a family of 13. If I don't know numbers, I know nothing.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
So how did you get started in this? Because usually there is something in all of our lives that we are drawn to because we're looking for answers or we're looking to grow. What is your story?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you a couple of things. In numerology, I am a 3 and I'm born on a 3 day. The 3 is here to motivate and uplift other people, but it's also the natural comedian. So in my case, I was voted class clown in high school, but I was also a straight A student. Like I was an A student and I got like student of the month. And I also got this thing called the Tower Award, where 10 students got it out of like 500. And what the principal said when I came on stage, he said, you are the first class clown to ever win a top 10 Oiler. So it was inside me that I always worked hard. Like I always had a strong need to know. I didn't like to come up short. If I had an assignment, I got it done. So what happened, what pulled me into this, I was already a voice. And I believe numerology itself was looking for a voice. The same way that Linda Goodman really brought astrology to the front.
Yes.
Even though astrology had been forever, I brought numerology to the front, especially in mainstream, like, Dr. Phil, Dr. Oz, The Talk. I could go on any show to communicate it because that was my natural gift. So how did this happen? My heart was broken. I had a first love. He broke my heart. I was in great pain, even though I broke up with him, which is it makes me laugh now, right? I break up with him, but I can't get over him.
And how old were you? How old were you?
I was 18, first love.
18. Okay.
I met him at 18 and probably broke up at 19, but my heart was broken. And so anyway, I went to see a woman who was under the umbrella of psychic, but she wasn't. She was a numerologist. Now, I have to say this, and I know you know this, Deb. We're all psychic, okay? So there's just certain tools can open the third eye.
100%.
Numerology opened mine.
Right.
So I went to her, and she's like, Glynis, you don't miss him. He's toxic to you. It's his mother and his sister. So when you go in that house, you feel like you belong there, that it's your home, but it's their energy, not his. And from that day forward, I was over him, and I'm not kidding. All
Wow.
that
Love
pain
that.
went away. So I thought, okay, wait a second. What is this? So I picked up one book on the subject. I never finished that book. I only read the basic definition 1 through 9, and I could read anybody effortlessly, which means it was already before I got here. This
Yeah.
was divine guidance. So the
Absolutely.
minute I knew this, I could read everybody. And so what I was doing back then, stand-up comedy, entertaining, but I would
Wow.
add numerology to the show. So I would turn it into punchlines, right?
You were
I'd say
really a
things like,
stand-up comic?
oh, very much. I was a headlining comedian. The first time I did comedy, the guy at the club, Long Beach Comedy Club, he asked me what my fee was, and I'd never done it before. So, listen, a 3 is a natural comedian. Okay. So,
Wow.
natural, I mean, like I said, I was a class clown in high school, wasn't trying to be funny, was funny. That's
So
the
Deb
difference.
tells dad jokes. Does that count? I don't think so. I'm teasing.
I love humor in this work because you and I are helping people when they're going through difficult challenges, correct?
Right. That's exactly true. But here's what actually happened for the breakthrough.
Okay.
So there I was doing comedy. My only reason to do that was to make people happy, right? I was trying to pull them out of their depression and make them feel good. And then one day it dawned on me the difference in doing that and what I do today. When I teach energy, like numerology, and I give you tools to heal yourself, I'm helping you be happy for a lifetime, not just one night in a comedy room, right? And
Right.
that was the turning point. I'm like, oh, so this life purpose, because back then I thought, oh, I'll have a talk show and I'll teach people, I'll make them realize that there's nothing they can't achieve if they set their mind to it. Well, the joke is that's what I do. I do it as a numerologist, right?
Yes.
But this is such a powerful tool to tap deeply inside someone and say, it's okay who you are, but now we're going to pull you out of the negative side. There's a positive and negative side to every number. We're going to help you get happy. I'm going to help you really get happy, not for a moment, not in front of your friends, but deep, deep inside you. So it's exciting.
And I love the fact that there is a scientific side
Yes.
to it, because a lot of people that are left brain, things like that, when they see numbers, you can't argue with them. And that's what's really a beautiful reason why I'm sure that people embrace this type, because it's right in front of you. There's no arguing.
Well, people love to argue no matter what, don't they?
That's true.
Yeah.
All right,
So
Glynis,
let's
that
not
is
kid
true.
ourselves.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be lovely, Deb? If it were that simple, that'd be gorgeous. It's not
Absolutely.
that simple.
It would
But
be.
Well,
I
maybe
will
they
say
shouldn't
this.
be arguing. Yeah.
How about this? Numbers don't lie, but people do.
Yes.
People
that's-
panic.
Okay. I
If
love that.
if you understand someone, that can be scary to them if they're hiding something. So when I read someone, I have such compassion in who they are, it makes them feel more safe. But when people just black and white it, just like people try to try to put us all in the same bowl, right? To say,
Yes.
oh, all psychics are charlatans. That's simply not true. Some are
Right.
incredibly gifted, but others are not. They're
Right.
not tapping into that true source energy. So
Right.
yeah, you need to know who's who. But I will say I feel blessed every single day because the well that I tap into is so powerful. And by the way, for me, it's God energy. I was raised Catholic. That was my upbringing. And what I'd say about that, I love the prayer. The prayers are powerful, right? That's why I also promote affirmations. Because when you're affirming, I have people do it 15 minutes a day. It's like a prayer for yourself, whether it's healing your body or helping you have that career or having financial security. It's all
Mhm.
connected.
It is all connected. And I do
Yeah.
want to ask this question because this is something that, well, two things of questions I have, but one of them is great sex in the numbers. So that's in one of your books, correct?
Oh, yes.
In one of your
And
chapters.
speaking of great sex,
Tell us
let's
more.
talk about me, Charlie, shall we? Listen,
Yes.
my husband, this is how this went down for me. I picked Charlie by the numbers. So that means, my gosh, it's been 20 years now. It was 2002. But what
Congratulations.
happened was I was dealing with the X-Files. That's what I call those ex-boyfriends.
The
And they were horrible.
X-Files.
Oh, can I use that, Glynis, please?
Yes,
Can I steal it?
yes.
I'll give you credit. I'll give you credit.
Yes.
X-Files. Okay.
Yes,
I'm
the
gonna use
X-Files,
that.
the horrible, horrible X-Files.
Yes.
And I thought, what am I doing? Here I'm advising people on how to find love. I need to be proactive. So I joined a dating site and I said, numerologist looking for a man who's really got my number. And, men responded. And then all of a sudden I saw Charlie, my husband. I'm telling you, if you knew my husband, you would not believe he is such a good man, and not just for me, but for everybody. He spoils my family. He spoils my friends. He makes every holiday magical. That's just him. So I can't get over him, but I knew the minute I ran his numbers, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is my guy.
It's like doing a credit check, right? In a different way.
Isn't that so funny? Yeah, no, it was all numerology. And I looked and thought, I mean, we talked every day. I deliberately didn't meet him. And I want to say that to your audience. Don't meet someone. If you do a dating site and they're really aggressive, take your time. Because if you can't have a conversation every day and enjoy them, you sure don't need to meet them. Because the minute we get physical, that's a whole different thing. Women get confused, right? If the sex is good, you're like, I'm in love. No, you're not. You're in lust. Pull yourself together, right?
Right.
But so I took 4 months to meet him, even though we only lived 40 minutes from each other, because I knew how much he was going to matter. And then when we met, it was magic. Like we kissed. And when he left, he had my lipstick all over his little face. Like I probably kissed that boy 45 minutes when we met. And now, go ahead.
No, I'm just laughing with the way you're sharing your story. Keep it going. I love it.
It's so true. And let me tell you, so when this love happened and it was magic, I knew not only was he the one, but that we would keep the love alive, because that's the key. People can get married. So what? I have couples. Oh, we've been married for 15 years, 20 years. When did you last have sex? Oh, 5 years ago. I'm like, that's not marriage. Sorry.
Yeah.
You have to be intimate. The whole point of marriage, you get to have sex. Like that is your partner. And you should love each other. So Charlie and I do a date. Yeah, we do a date night every week. We giggle every day. And it's not like life is perfect. That pandemic tested every relationship out there. When you get trapped and you don't have your regular rhythm, it's a test. But Charlie and I pass with flying colors because we sincerely love each other, like deeply, deeply love each other. And that's what I do. I help people find great love.
So I don't know if you know this or not, but Deb and I are actually a couple.
Okay.
So,
no wonder you sound alike, right? You sound each other's voices.
Well,
my sister, go ahead.
I was just going to say, so when you talk about the pandemic, we were locked up 24/7, working together, and locked up together. And we passed the test as well, but we know so many who did not.
Yes.
That is correct. And it's an art form. Here's what I discovered when it happened, because Charlie would leave and go off and do his thing, and we'd come together at night, and it was great. And all of a sudden he was right here. And I thought, okay, what do we do? And you know what we did? My house is big enough. I would go in my room and do something. He'd go in the other room. We'd still make sure we had the space in our togetherness.
Yes.
That was key. Yeah. And still had a life. Maybe it was calling friends or whoever, but when people are on top of each other in a negative way and then get defensive and don't hear each other, it is the most painful thing to stay in that. Like it's so unhealthy for the soul and for the body. And I'm going to say, because I have your numbers, and Deb, I'm going to talk about a numerology blueprint on you, but I'm going to say something quickly about you as a relationship. Dana, because you're born a 2 life path, ultimately what you really want, you are a love girl, like a peacemaker, mediator. I don't want conflict. And it's not that you don't know how to get in trouble with your mouth, because you do. And I say that.
I just did that.
And
you can.
About me.
Oh, you.
And
Dana.
I will tell you this, my face, you can look at my face and know exactly what I'm thinking without me saying a word.
No
so
poker
I
face.
can't filter.
Right. But now I'm making sure because you sound identical. That's Dana, correct?
That's
me,
Dana,
yeah.
yes.
Right. So Dana, listen carefully. The two, when they feel things, it's right in their eyes. It's just so obvious when they're hurt. But here's what I was going to say. When you're born on a 4-day, you can be direct. And sometimes things fly out that you forgot to edit. And that's where the conflict can come in. So what I would tell you, yeah, I'd say, listen, grasshopper, it's okay to go quiet for a minute and really think about
I've
those
learned
words
that.
before you say them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, so
Yeah.
what about, because we were talking about retrograde, Mercury retrograde, and I
Yes.
was born under Mercury retrograde as well. So how does that affect?
Well,
your
here's what
whole-
happens. When we look at energy, like let's say you learn your numerology blueprint, which by the way, there's 3 numbers in the name, there's 3 numbers in the birth date. Those 6 numbers give us a blueprint of who we are. In your case, because you were born Mercury retrograde, already we know that it messes with communication. Like we can be not heard. You could have a big meeting when it's Mercury retrograde and think it went beautifully. And then 2 weeks later, when you follow up, they didn't hear what you said. So the key is to not take it personally, because here's what happens. When we get upset or defensive, it means we are activating the shadow side of our energy.
Yes.
It is not living in the positive side that makes us fight or hold our position. It is not.
Glynis, for those that are not familiar, the shadow side is the side of us that we try to hide, that I believe that we're here to learn, to uncover, to bring light to it. So for listeners, that's the stuff we don't like about ourselves, correct?
And here's what I would say. I agree, of course, but here's what it is. There's a positive and negative side to every number. So when you go to the negative, it is the shadow side, because all you're doing is creating trouble in your own life.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And
that's a great way to
yeah,
put it. Beautifully said.
Yeah. And so let me explain quickly, because I did break down your numbers, Deb, and I just want to talk about the 6 numbers that make up your blueprint.
Please talk
and
about
keep
me.
it. Yeah. Born on 425.
Correct.
And just taking this energy. And the life path number comes from the full date of birth reduced to 1 digit. Okay. So in starting with the name you go by, 257 is what you have. So what does that mean? The soul number is 2, which is listening to the inner voice. If you listen to it, it doesn't fail you. When you second guess it, you end up in trouble. Like you end up regretting it. Absolutely. You have a 5 personality, which means never a dull moment. You do get restless. It's like, I want to do something fun. I want to go somewhere. Travel. Yeah, travel should be a part of that. But also love of the ocean, mountains, plants, flowers, all of nature's beauty. You're very affected by it. And then you have a 7 power name number, and you're also born on a 7-day. That is the part of you that says, who am I? Why am I here? What is my purpose? You do ask yourself that a lot. Like it's just inside you. And then you try to make sure you do something towards that understanding every day.
I love it.
And then your life path, which is that full date of birth reduced to 1 digit, is the number 9. So 9 really is the old soul. It means when you were little, you were beyond your years. You always knew things that no one taught you. I'm going to guess that you definitely learned what you liked and didn't like from your parents and made a note of it. And did you end up having kids at all, Deb?
Yes, I have 2 children. Okay.
Being a parent, you really wanted to do it right. Like you made a note of what didn't work for you and you tried to do it. I almost want to say perfectly, but I want to say there's no such thing.
Correct.
and of course you had to figure that one out too. It's like, wow, no matter what I do, it's not going to be enough. Therefore, I need to be grateful and happy with the stuff I did bring, because you come from an honest place. You have a lot of integrity, but even just like Dana, when you decide you're upset, watch out, double 7, I call it, I want to just say your words, it can be a lethal weapon, but only if you really feel there was no option. It is not your preference, never your preference to do that, but you can. So I feel sorry for the one who doesn't know you can.
100%.
I've been called the vulture, Glynis, in some of my teaching.
Yes.
Yes, for those that I tried to tame that down, but absolutely, yes.
Oh, no, it's just lethal. It's like, and you know what? It's always based in truth. It's not about deception.
No.
But, I always see that the truth is still in art form. We got to find those words so that people hear us. But sometimes you just don't feel like it. It's like, nope, I'm just going to call it out as it is. Now, going to your attitude number, which comes from the month and day. Now, in this case, we have a master number 11. So when we talk about master numbers, I invite people to go to numberslady.com. Under the numbers on the menu, I teach about master numbers, but it's just simple. If you keep it simple, people born the 11th or the 22nd, or if your life path has the 33, but it's a special formula to have that master number 33, and I show it on my website. But in your case, you have the master number 11, and then I would say /2, because what does it mean? On the one hand, it means you feel called to master your life. Like you really never stop striving to learn and do it better. But at the same time, you have to calm it down. We cannot live in master number energy all the time because it will be overwhelming. So when we calm it down, you go back to, I just want love, peace, harmony. I want sweetness. Your home, your bed, the bed, with whatever the cloth is, that when you put the blanket on, it's got to be comfortable, and the smells in the house has to be lovely. And if it smells bad, you're going to be very upset. It's like, what is that? You pick it all up. So yeah, your environment matters to you a great deal for that reason.
Absolutely. 100%.
Wow, that's awesome.
Dana has a better sense of smell than I do, but I can tell when something doesn't smell right in life or actually an aroma. So yes.
Yeah, but also just think about environment. If things get too scattered or too crazy, not good for your brain.
Correct.
You have a part of you that's very, and Dana, you come into this as well. Organization, Dana, do you keep a list of what needs to get done? Do you try to keep it together that way?
Yes.
She's always trying to get me to stay on track. So that
on her list, woman.
Right. But that's where Dana, you're the gift here, because look, Deb, you're kind of out of body a lot, your mind wanders, and Dana, you help to ground it and say, hey, it's great that you have that gift because actually you're helping people with it, but we still have to settle things, the business side as much as the creative. And then Dana, what I think saves you, born August 4th, that number 3 is your attitude, which is sense of humor. You can be silly. You can say something very funny and get people laughing. And you also, when you guys have the right friends come over, it's a little party celebration, you're so happy. This brings you a lot of joy.
It does.
And I think, Dana, you're able to bring Deb back down to earth. If
that's a great way to put it.
Somewhere else. But as a couple, I would definitely encourage travel, like getting out of your regular environment whenever you can.
We've been doing that recently.
That is definitely a part of
it's very smart for you.
And you nailed it, because even when we've had aura pictures, I'm out here in the clouds and she's the one keeping me grounded. So again, the numerology has validated exactly our relationship, as well as she does have all these lists and she's organized. And I'm like the person wandering around like, what day is it?
Yes. No, absolutely true. I mean, even having like that 7 energy, it means sometimes, Deb, you could be talking to someone, or I should say someone's talking to you, and you can mentally leave the building. Like mentally you wander. And then you'll come back and they have no idea you left. But guess who would know? Dana. You can't pull that on Dana.
Wow.
Yeah. She's going to see right through it. She's like, where did you go? What are you doing?
She does.
You're not listening.
Totally. That is so cool. That is awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, that just nailed it. You can, with numerology, like, what is some of the unique things that you have maybe uncovered about somebody that they didn't know? I mean, do you have one of those stories where maybe it was about they're not going to live very long, or they're here to do something?
Let me tell you how that works. I mean, look, there are some numbers that have struggles. more than others. Like I can see when people internalize, and of course, what we don't deal with mentally can attack us physically. So I'll bring that to their attention to help them heal it. But I actually have a CD called Affirmations to Heal Your Body that's helped people with even stage 4 cancer. I mean, I've had the most beautiful letters written because I do think our mind plays such a role in our health and, how long we're going to live, right? I mean, a woman who feels she's the victim always is bound to get sick at some point, right?
Absolutely.
So I help you look at what could happen in your chart. But my gift, the reason I'm so celebrated in what I do in the world is a story can hit the news and I can look at it by the numbers, and what I end up saying is exactly what really happened. Like when the story finally comes out, it's what I already said.
Love it.
So
And
can
that's
you share with us
wonderful.
about Putin and Zelensky?
Yeah, I wrote a powerful piece about them in the newsletter. Here's what happened. In January, I'm on Coast to Coast Radio with George Norrie a lot.
Okay.
And it was January, and he said, "Hey, what do you think about Putin?" And I said, he's in a personal year of 5. So if he were to attack, it'd be a huge mistake on his part. Nothing would go to plan. It'd be a mistake. Well, Jiminy Crickets, how true did that turn out to be?
Yes.
I mean, it was so obvious on paper. So then all of a sudden we have Zelensky. Well, here's what soulmate, we can have soulmate connections. There are 2 types. It's either the soulmate, like, oh, I'm so lucky I found you, or you're the worst person I ever knew. I will never repeat the pattern. Zelensky and Putin have a soulmate connection. They share the numbers 6, 7, 7, and 8. Now, what's interesting, Zelensky is in a personal year of 5, just like Putin. But the difference is this happened to Zelensky's people. He didn't make it happen, right?
Right.
And here's the big difference. This is why Zelensky has been so loved, so celebrated, but also has stepped into this position in such a powerful way. He's a 6 life path. The 6 is known for rescuing. Like if I were to keep it simple, rescuing the damsel in distress. When there's a crisis, that's when they're at their best. Country has he not talked to say, you got to help us.
Absolutely.
You know what he said that just I love when in the beginning when I guess Biden's administration offered to, move him, like get him out of there. He says, I don't need a ride. I need ammunition. The fight is here. That is a 6 life path. I am not leaving. We are in crisis. I will fix this crisis. So Putin's not that. Putin is a 7 life path born on a 7 day. And the shadow side of 7, you either thank God or you think you're God. Well, what do you think?
Which one is he?
That is interesting all the way around.
Yeah.
And we know he thinks he is God.
Yes, he absolutely does. So the heartbreak is if he were able to quote unquote pull this off, he would not stop. He wouldn't stop at Ukraine. He unfortunately, he does admire dictators before him. He likes that whole idea. I do think the pandemic played a role in how he's feeling because, the 7's already a loner. They barely can put up with people's energy, but he's double 7. And when you saw him at first even with his generals, I mean, if you're keeping on top of these stories, oligarchs are being murdered right and left. I mean, it is. And so if you said to me, Glynis, when this is all said and done, does he stay in power? My answer is no. And I put that to you today. No, he cannot stay in power on this road that he's on. This is, and by the way, again, this is the dark side of energy. If he were positive, if you said, Glynis, what would a positive Putin look like? I would tell you, double 7 can be very spiritual. If he really was about God and looking for guidance, he would have approached Ukraine and said, look, yes, it's true. I do want, to get back to Mother Russia. I do want to bring countries back in. What can we do to negotiate? You see, he could have had a real conversation, but instead he thought he could just walk right in. He was, the people around him are such yes men because they feared him. No one told him the truth. And I know when people talk about how many people are dead, I do believe there are around 20,000 Russian soldiers dead right now, which is heartbreaking.
Absolutely.
It is.
Because they don't want to be.
But
bothered.
when they talk about how people in Russia are only hearing the propaganda, I don't believe that. I believe the younger generation, because everyone has a cell phone, the truth is also getting in. So more will be revealed, but that's why Zelensky all of a sudden became this man that people looked up to when he was nobody 5 seconds ago, right? I mean, no one knew his power, but in numerology, I could see it.
Love it.
That is fascinating. Absolutely fascinating.
And I'm going to tell you one real quick because it matters too. Will Smith. When I looked at that, here's what really happened. Like before the Oscars, people were like, okay, who's going to win? And I whipped through his numbers and also Jessica Chastain. And I could see that they both would win the Oscar. I'm like, Will's going to win, but so's Jessica. But the difference is that day is a perfect day for Jessica. It's like natural match. It's a sunny day symbol. I have a calendar that I offer that gives you a symbol for each day. It was a perfect day for her. But for Will, even though I could see he would win, he was a 4 life path and a personal year 4. It was a toxic day, like a really as bad as it could be, like a perfect storm. So I thought to myself, because we didn't know the slap was coming, I thought, how can this boy win? Well, I said to myself, he's going to win, but that day's not ideal. So when he did the slap, I was like, am I hallucinating right now? Like, is this really happening? Right?
Yes, right.
Well, I'm curious.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Here's the thing. That date in numerology, it was a 9-day. It added up to a 9. And the month and day was a 3. Okay, so that's 399. For his numerology, that would be considered toxic, toxic, toxic. Wow. For Jessica's numerology, it was natural match, natural match, natural match. Well, if you watched her win her Oscar after the slap, it's as if she wasn't even in that room with him. Like she was radiant and happy and life is great. In other words, nothing could rain on the parade for her energy because it was perfect for her.
Wow.
And so here's the thing. When I studied his chart, even though that day was very toxic, he had a 9 in his soul. So that means his soul was still fulfilled, right? On that day, winning the Oscar. But because of the slap, no one's going to remember the Oscar. It's all about the slap. That's our world. Right. But it really was on paper. That's what I do. I just study energy and go, what's going to happen?
So I have to ask the obvious question about Will Smith and Jada.
Yeah. In my first book, I wrote about them. Glynis has your number. And they are a power couple. The fact is, they've done a lot of good in the world. But the truth is, they are also very challenged in numerology. Now, one thing I have not said before, which I find interesting, it obviously was her expression to him that made him even get up there. Right. And let's be honest, when Will Smith walked down that stage, he slapped him like an Englishman. You know darn well Will has muscle. If he punched Chris, please, Chris would have flown across that stage. He did not do that. He went up there, and Jada should have stopped him because she could have, but she didn't. And what would you know? Her numbers, I don't have them in front of me, but I know for a fact she has 4 9s out of 6 numbers in numerology. So that day, she took what was supposed to be his day and turned it into hers.
Wow.
Whoa.
Okay.
That really,
that makes sense.
It does. It says a lot.
It does. It didn't matter what, this was his moment to shine and win an Oscar, but instead it was about defending her honor, quote unquote. Yeah. I mean, it's a heartbreaking story, but you know what else? Here's how it works in numerology. If you have 1 or 2 challenge numbers, you can agree to disagree. If you have 3 challenge numbers out of 6, it means you have to work hard on the relationship. But if you have 4 or more, you have to ask yourself, is it worth it? Well, they have 4 challenge numbers out of 6. So look how hard it's been. And yet, I told you earlier, his soul number is a 9, which means she fulfills his soul.
Wow.
The only thing Dana and I can say is wow. I mean, that's our response for
we're like in awe.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It is really powerful. And for the record, I am doing something that your audience can take advantage of. If they go to numbers.com and they don't know their numerology blueprint or soulmate breakdown, if they type love numbers, they will get a discount. And they're already inexpensive. And I keep them that way because I want people to understand those basic numbers. You know, what's your soul number? What's your personality number? What's your power name number? What's your birthday number? What's your life path number? What's your attitude number? When you learn those things, it just feels nice. It's like, wow, this makes sense to me. I do recognize myself in that energy.
So the love by the numbers. So are they able to take that then and
they have to literally write and treat it as one word, love numbers, numbers, one word. And that's a promo code. And they get a discount just for putting that in there.
Okay.
Awesome. I'm sure lots of people will jump on that.
No doubt, because the only thing that we can do as your host is say, wow, we're so impressed. We do know, though, that there is a unique fact or story that you got to be invited somewhere really special. So we wanted to share that because this is a rare moment.
Well, so you have to tell us what it was like being at Michael Jackson's funeral. Because you not only do you had a connection and you looked at his numbers.
Oh, yes.
Way before.
So let me tell you why that was so powerful. I mean, to me, honestly, that first of all, here's how it went down. Of course, he passed away and people were devastated. And you saw the great pain throughout the world. It wasn't just here. And for me, even in that moment, I thought it really validated who he was. I mean, when he was accused of quote unquote being a child molester, this was about money. We know it was at the time. And he was just so ill-equipped to understand what was happening. Like, if you think about it, because Michael was like a little kid himself. He lived in the child of who he is, not the adult. Not living. And that's why even his daughter at the funeral, by the way, she said, I love my dad. He was the greatest dad in the world. If you could have seen that little girl and her level of agony and her deep love for him, it was heartbreaking. But what happened was I'd shot the email to, put my name in because it's kind of like a lottery of fans to be picked. And I want you both to know I never win anything ever. Never. No, I'm the one who never. It's just the way that ball bounces, right? And so I'm like, whatever, I'll try. Well, then a couple of days later, they're like, yeah, go ahead and check your email. And there it was. I'm like, what? My whole body got chills. And of course, I got to bring someone, and my sister Julie, who's an angel. I invited Julie. Well, we went and we were there, and right below us was his casket. Like, we could not have been. We were literally on top because, the Staples Center is layered, and we were looking right at him, and we were bawling. The whole room was sobbing. But I know, going to my own history, because I'd covered Michael Jackson, and I know right now we live in a society, because of social media, that's very quick to have judgment. They take cheap shots, but you don't know them. They don't know you either, right?
Right.
So what happened for me back then, I knew he was innocent. And why? Because there's a sixth life path, which means the father energy, just like Zelensky, where they feel called to be a parent. They want to protect you. They love you. And that's what he was doing. And I'll never forget. And for the record, I personally was molested as a child. And when you've been molested, you really do tend to recognize a molester. I promise you that. I have come across men. I'm like, uh-oh. I could feel it. So that I felt nothing. So what I'll never forget it. Michael was on a show and he goes like this. Of course I have kids sleep in bed with me. I think it's great. It's like a slumber party. Well, let me make clear to you, there's no such thing as a child molester making that statement. They don't talk like that. They do not. So that was a clue. And then I looked at his numerology and he was just too gentle. He had the number 2 for love. And that's why his music was so passionate. So when I got that invitation, it was as if he sent it to me, because I had gone on every show, big shows with millions of people. And I said he was innocent. And then there were 13 counts against him, and he was found not guilty on all 13. And also, when that man passed away, 2.5 billion people tuned into that funeral. Do you think 2.5 billion would show up for a child molester? No. So when that man passed, he had his justice at the end of his life.
Yeah, well, I know he was such a loved individual in our history.
Deeply.
Yes.
Yeah.
Died
And
way too young.
way too young.
Well, you know what though? He was a little bit like Peter Pan, and honestly, he had turned 50. I never envisioned Michael being an old man. Like, I don't think he could handle that either. Do you see?
Yeah.
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 That
Yeah.
makes, mhm.
Yeah.
That does make
And
sense.
he didn't. But no, it was very, very powerful, and I was incredibly grateful to be there and just witness the love and compassion of everybody for that person.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
You are just
But it was, I mean,
fascinating.
again, I never win anything, so wow.
I get you, girlfriend. People think because I'm psychic, I can, like win the lottery. And I'm like,
No.
yeah, it hasn't happened yet. Yeah.
It may, well, and I will, funny you mentioned that. People do say, well, what are my lucky numbers? Yes, it's true. There are numbers that are considered lucky. But if we really were giving those numbers, of course, we'd be filthy rich and that'd be the end of it. We wouldn't have a business.
Right.
We'd just have, fun on the Riviera.
Yeah.
But I've had clients reach out to me and say, Glynis, I played those numbers that was on their blueprint because it tells you what your lucky numbers are, and they've won money. I have had enough people tell me that I do know vibration. Like when you think of people who win the lottery, how often do you hear them say, well, I played my kid's birthday, or I played my birth numbers. Those numbers are sacred for you.
Absolutely.
So that does make sense. Yeah.
Absolutely. If there's any advice that you could give to our audience, what would that be? Because first of all, I want to say, Glynis, before you answer that, you're a fabulous guest. I love your energy. I love the way you share things, and the comedian is still in you.
Of course.
Sure. Yes.
Well, like I said, a 3 is a natural comedian, meaning they don't have to try to be funny. They are funny. And double 3 makes it doubly true. So why not use it, right? In the ways that we can. But I'm going to say something to your audience because it's important to them. If they're listening to this show, they're going, well, wait, what about me? What about me? Meaning their life path. So how about we cover that life path real quick so that they have a little something for themselves?
Please do. Yes.
Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use Tom Hanks' birthday as the example to get us started. So Tom was born 7/9/1956. So we add it straight across, reduce it to one digit. 7 plus 9 plus 1 plus 9 plus 5 plus 6 is 37. 3 plus 7 is 10. 1 plus 0 is 1 life path. So he's a 1 life path. And as I said, we're keeping this simple. There's a thing called master numbers, and some people who are master numbers will always say, well, tell me about that. This is the basic life path number 1 through 9. So here's how it goes. A 1 is independent. They're self-motivated. They strive to be the best at what they do. They can be very self-critical. And as a result, they can be critical of you too, because they want you to be great. That's a 1. The number 2, and this would apply to you, Dana, peacemaker, mediator. They don't want trouble. They tend to be naturally psychic too. Your inner voice, when you trust it, it's powerful. You could have dreams that come true or deja vu when you meet people. That's the number 2. So what the 2 has to be careful when they love someone and that person's in trouble, they have to be careful not to fall in. Don't let their problems become yours. You can be helpful to them, but you have to have your boundary. Okay. And one more funny thing, Dana, about the number 2 life path. If they get upset, they look like romper room. They look like a kid when they're upset. It's like, really? Pull yourself together.
Actually, that is 100% correct.
I look like a kid when I'm angry. No, I'm kidding.
You don't. When people are doing that, they look like, because you're not falling into it. You're sitting back, so that person is acting like a kid.
I gotcha.
Yep, and the only reason, this goes back to the other number, you're born on a 4 day, see? And I'm going to talk about the 4 in a minute, so listen carefully to that, Dana, because it's very much a part of you. The number 3, 3s are communicators. They are actually known for their eyes, their smile, their voice. You will notice that. The 3s are here to motivate and uplift others. When a 3 is a little person, like a little kid, they make up stories that they think are true, right? So it's not uncommon that they're actors, because what are actors doing? Aren't they playing make-believe?
They are. They get
paid well, and they win Oscars. I mean, Jodie Foster comes to my mind. She's a 3. Look at the Oscars she won for her performances because they're so believable. So the key to a 3, they've got to find ways to keep their sense of humor. And I always say attract people who get that they're funny, because there's nothing more painful than a 3 who's funny and their partner doesn't get it. Move along, grasshopper.
I'm not a 3,
No,
but
no.
But Dana always looks at me like, seriously, because I try to be funny and I'm really not. So
Right. Right. She's like, well, that was a tragic effort. Are you okay, honey? Maybe you should sit this one out. Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway,
Okay.
so but yeah, the 3. But the truth is, Deb, with you 2 together, even if she does it, you end up laughing because it's, it's funny. That's what's funny. The number
is not funny.
Right. It is. Someone even calling you out on it makes you laugh. The number 4. Here's the 4. They seek knowledge. The more they know, the happier they are. And yes, I do compare it to water in the desert. They're very thirsty to learn more. They hate to feel stupid. The 4 is like, if I can't do it perfectly, I don't want to do it. So it's all about success and not failing. They also need to establish security, find ways to make money, because if they don't have that nest egg, they panic for the future. And liars are their deal breaker. If you're dishonest with a 4, it's better the 4 lets you go than put up with it, because the 4 will never let go. The 4 will say, hey, remember when you lied? Hey, remember that time you didn't tell the truth? The 4 is about truth. The number 5, freedom, fun, adventure, never a dull moment. They're the ones who are supposed to move around, just like the number 7, travel, look at the world. And if they don't travel, then they live in books, like books that are mysteries or playing detective, anything that uses their mind. They're also the celebrator of life. They're the ones at the party. What's cute about them, if you give a 5 a gift, chances are they'll write a thank you note. And then if you thank them, they'll write back and thank you for the thank you note. You see, like it's a back and they never stop, because it's almost like a hot potato. They don't want you to not think how grateful they can be and how grateful they are. Yes. The shadow side of 5, they got to be careful not to attract drama. There are numbers in numerology that are lights, the number 3 and the number 5, they're lights, therefore they can attract bugs, right? Yes. People who come at the light, that's what a 5 has to watch out for. The number, and natural detective, I have to put that in. If they want to know what's up, they'll do the research and find out. The number 6, they are a responsible energy, male or female. They're meant to be in charge of what they do. If they work for somebody else, there will be some resentment, because they'll think, you're getting my paycheck. Like, I'm doing all the work, but you're getting my paycheck. That's why they should be in charge of what they do. And damage control is their specialty. They can, when things are messed up, they kind of step up and say, okay, we got to fix this. Sometimes they are accused of being a control freak, because they're so busy trying to do it, but their fear is if they don't do it, it won't get done. So they have to work on that. The number 7, and this is a part of you, Deb, because you actually have a double 7, born on a 7 day and a 7 destiny. The 7 is a spiritual energy, but they are asking the big questions. They have to be careful not to become cynical, because if they've had too many disappointments, trust becomes an issue. But if they work on their spirituality and the affirmations and just looking at the beauty of the world, the more they take in nature's beauty, the healthier they feel inside. The appreciation of simple things is what brings them joy. But they do have a loner streak. And if you invade a 7 space, not okay. The 7 has to invite you in, and then they welcome you. You don't go into the room without permission.
You have her numbers.
Yes.
I was going to say, so Dana, stop doing that. Stop sneaking around. She can't handle it. Anyway.
Yes.
Yeah. And here's the other
way.
Yeah. When the 7 shuts down, give them a minute to get it together. They'll come back. They'll come full circle.
That is
when they're ready.
Yeah, right. 100% right on. And not that I doubted it, but you're like talking my language for sure.
Right. So I would say this, Deb, because you were born on a 7 day and you have a 7 destiny, the 7 does seek the truth, but they cannot stand hypocrisy. If someone tries to shove a religion down their throat, they will not participate. It turns them off. So when that happens, I always say to someone with like double 7 energy or 7 life path, find the truth for yourself. Find what resonates. Don't let the family or anyone who has scarred you from the past, don't let it interfere with the lessons you're here to learn.
Glynis, you just gave me a few years of therapy right there.
I'm telling you that, and that's the truth right there. And also going to you with that 9 life path. Nines, I told you, it's the past, like mom and dad, whatever they did wrong, they didn't understand you, and they thought they could shove their belief system down your throat. It doesn't work that way.
They still do.
Not with a 9.
Yeah. You know what they called the religion?
What?
The truth.
And then the number 8, the 8 life path. The 8 is business minded. They have to find a way to have financial security. They love nice things. So I always say, like, if it's a little kid, I'll ask the mom, what do they like? Oh no, if it's not a name brand, she doesn't want it. It's just, they're drawn to they see it as just quality, but it's always something expensive. So they have to figure that part out. And I always tell the 8, find a way to make money. But there's 2 types of 8s. They either make money and it slips through their fingers, or they make money and put it all in the bank because they're afraid to spend it. So I wrote a CD. It's affirmations to attract more prosperity. I always encourage the 7 to do a positive prosperity affirmation daily to heal that part of them. The 8 is blunt. Now, Dana, you can relate to this. The number 4 and the 8 are the ones that are direct, and you can be very direct. When the 8,
she can.
I'm telling you, like, it catches you off guard. It's like, whoa, where'd that come from? But the 8, they say things and they have to consider what they say, because when they're misinterpreted, they get hurt. So when you meet someone who's an 8 life path, they seem very strong, but inside their heart is mush. They got a huge heart. So yeah, I tell them, watch it. Just, it's okay to stay quiet. Sometimes you don't have to say what's popped in your head. It's okay.
Does that sound like me a little bit, Deb?
Yeah.
Where's that cute filter? Where's that COVID mask?
Right.
Yes.
And then
I'm definitely too direct sometimes.
Right. You can't. And again, it's energy. That's why I said, if we start recognizing the energy, we don't have to respond right back. We can stop and go, oops, that's that 4. Oop, there's her 8. Now, the number 9, and this applies to you, Deb. The 9, because 1 is the beginning, 9 is the number of completion. It's an automatic old soul, but it also means, you don't compete with others, Deb. You are competing with you. Like, you want to be your best, but you love to see people succeed. When they have breakthroughs, you're so happy for them. You don't go, what about me? What, well, she had that break. What about me? As a matter of fact, 9s also have to learn, it's going good and I deserve it. Like, to put it out there, good for you. That's what it is. When you see this great success, good for you, and that's for me.
I just got chills everywhere.
Yes. And then the 9, when they're hurting, it always has to do with something in the past or a fear about the future. It's never in the moment. When a 9 is in the moment, they are very happy, and they are the humanitarian. If they can find ways to help, volunteer their time, or give to a charity that matters, that makes them happy. So the 9 is supposed to not only find ways to succeed, but it's about, and what can I do to leave footprints in the sand? When it's all said and done, what did I do here that made lives better? That's what the 9 feels called to.
There is so much truth in that. And that is her to a T. That is Deb to a T. That really is, that's how I see her focus, is helping raise others, students, people around her. Everything about her is cheering others on.
That's
every day. Yep.
And you're right.
Yep.
I don't
And
compete. I don't compete. I'm
She
not a
doesn't
competitor. I
compete.
don't
Yeah.
compete.
No.
Yeah. But
Well, how about this idea? The 1 competes to win. The 9 already won.
that
You see?
is
Insight.
that's
Yes.
poetry.
Yeah. So, but that's literally the lineup of the energy, And so when I deal with 1s, and by the way, I realized the majority of my friends are 1 life paths, because what's great about that energy is you see them trying to become something, right? They have a calling, and then I help them calm down on that road so they can get there. Whereas the 9 often looks at the world and says, how do I help you all get there? Right? As a matter of fact, for the record, my birth certificate numbers are 911. So who do they call for help?
my goodness, that's so fitting.
That is great.
That's awesome.
This is.
And so for the record, at numberslady.com, when they click on numbers on the menu link, there is a list of the life path numbers. Like they can look at those little descriptions to remember what I said. And also the attitude number.
Fantastic. Do you have anything coming up that the listeners should know about?
I have not put it on the website yet, but in May, I'm going to be teaching an online numerology roundtable. And what that is each person submits a question in class and gets a guaranteed answer, which you know how tricky that is, right?
Yeah.
So it's it's like a limited amount of people. And then they each get a numerology workshop and watch those numbers come to life as I define it. Like I show the blueprint and then we talk it and you watch it come to life. It's very powerful and fun for everyone who takes it. So yeah, that'll be posted on my website.
Okay.
I think Dan and I may be checking that one out for sure.
Yeah, it's really good. And then the thing I would say when you asked me about what can I give the message to your audience,
Yes.
I still go back to square one, which is there really is nothing you cannot achieve. You have to keep your focus though. It's focus and determination. And this is important. Don't share your big dream with just anyone because not everybody is supportive of you. You know, could be family, it could be your partner. It doesn't mean they have a fear. It's like, why do you get to achieve a dream, but not me? So be careful with that.
That is, yeah, we see that. Unfortunately,
Yes.
we see that all the time.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So, yeah.
I cannot tell you how honored I am. And I know Dana, we were just shaking our heads, looking at each other for everything that you have shared. You are a guru at this and you are the woman of all the numbers. It's unbelievable how much you've nailed every single thing. And I think Dana and I are just going to really remember this. And we know that our listeners are going to just be reaching out too. So thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, you're so welcome. And we'll talk again sometime.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. I hope it inspired you. If you enjoyed our conversation, make sure you subscribe so that you get notified of new episodes. And let's get connected. Visit debshepard.com for more insights, support, workshops, and a book a session with me. And finally, always remember, your loved ones in spirit are just a thought away. Even though they're on the other side, they're always by your side.